I call the honourable member, Barbara Stewart.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. On behalf of New Zealand First, I rise to speak to the Social Security Benefit Categories and Work Focus Amendment Bill. Mr Speaker, New Zealand First has got some reservations about some aspects of this bill. That's why, contrary to what some parties expected, New Zealand First is prepared to vote the bill to Select Committee only at this particular stage. New Zealand First has its own views about beneficiaries keeping faith with the taxpayer. We are voting this bill to Select Committee because we are very interested in what various organisations and people directly affected by this legislation have to say, and that is the only way that we are going to hear what they say. It is only democratic that they have a say, and they must be heard. Overall, the bill states that it seeks to improve the social and the economic outcomes for all New Zealanders, and we agree with that. It does sound good. The bill does include some measures that protect the interests of children by encouraging parents to be employed in the workforce, and to increase participation in early childhood education, which is good, and well child checks, which is also positive. We can agree with that. But we have to remind the Minister that encouragement to work does not equate directly with achievement of actually attaining a job. Some of the practicalities of the legislation raise some questions in our mind. We know that the challenge for everyone is paid work, and for those with few qualifications or those people over the age of 40, this bill will actually be a challenge. Are we actually raising the expectations of these people in a way that their expectations cannot be met? We know that those people are struggling, and it's quite a large group. And we hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that this light is not a train actually coming to run them over. And that is important. We know too that 1,000 people a week approximately are travelling over to Australia for work, and funnily enough, this has not translated into an oversupply of jobs, which one would think is a really logical progression. People want to work. They don't want to be excluded from the economy and the life that they actually want to lead. Work testing doesn't actually make people work ready. They want that job right there at the end. One of the areas that does concern us is the increasing focus of this government towards greater use of the private sector in order to bring about targets. New Zealand First sees a real problem of accountability in this particular area. And it's one area that we're going to be interested in exploring further, because we need to ensure that these private companies are actually meeting the targets and doing the work that they have been contracted to do. Obviously, we'd like this work to be contracted back into the public sector so that we can ensure that those people are working. Another area that we have got some concern about is recent widows' benefit recipients. We believe that they'll be insulted by their amalgamation into the new Job Seeker Support benefit, which requires recipients to be work ready and available. And we don't believe that that's very fair at all in this area. Drug testing is another area that's going to be outsourced. Are there strategies in place to actually advance this drug testing in a timely and effective way? This is one area that there can't afford to be any mistakes in, because people do not want to have a drug reference against their name if they're actually looking for work. The availability of early childhood education and the number of places in these institutions also has to be explored. We were very concerned this week when this was raised during question time, and the Minister was not certain whether or not this was going to happen. We know that a change like this is not going to happen overnight. So action has to be taken now if this is going to be part of the new way that benefits are going to be given out. Whatever the views that people hold on these points, social welfare policy should be all about getting people off of benefits and into jobs. And therein lies a major issue for this government, because whatever welfare reforms that they are pushing through Parliament, they are doing absolutely nothing to foster an economy which ensures that there is job creation. And we can take that even very recently by looking at National's refusal to even consider my leader's private members' bill to give the Reserve Bank the flexibility that it needs to handle our seriously overinflated dollar and to help our ailing manufacturing and exporting sector. They are the sector that's actually going to provide the jobs. We need to ensure that they can actually survive. But the reality is that we want to see jobs created. We believe that at this point in time, the National Government is a bit like a fly trapped in an empty soft drink can, buzzing around, making a lot of noise, but going absolutely nowhere fast. So beneficiaries may end up being drug tested. Those wanted by the police may have their benefits slashed. But will these measures actually see them end up in paid employment? Sadly, New Zealand First doesn't think so, because these jobs don't exist under the policies of the National Government. But we are prepared to vote this bill to select committee so that the people of New Zealand can actually have a say. And we believe that is what is required with such dramatic and drastic reforms such as these that are going to be imposed upon a very vulnerable group of our society.
I call Tim McIndoe.
Mr Speaker, I was fascinated at how silent members opposite were when the Minister was